You know, when I told my son, I'm going to have on the podcast, and he goes, who? I said, Franco Finn. He goes, Franco Finn. I said, you've been to Warrior Games. You know the guy who gets out and he goes, Dad, you got the hype guy? Now, I've had some big people on this podcast. I ain't going to lie. But this is the first time my son got geeked up.
Oh, man, that's an honor. That's an honor, Gary. I love anyone that's part of Dub Nation, that loves basketball, that loves the Warriors in particular, because I'm one of them, and I'm just a mouthpiece for them at the games for the last 21 years. So I'm with the fans. I'm just the extension of the fans, and I love the team just as much as they do.
You and I got a chance to meet. We were at the Boys and Girls Club golf tournament.
Yes.
And I saw you and you and I came up and talked to you because I do charity auctions too. And we'll get to that. But I do charity auctions too. And I loved the way you did them. And so I had a chance to come up and talk to you, and you're just such an engaging young man. And you and I started talking about our shared history.
Yeah.
Right?
Our love for radio.
You started off in Radio Disney. Now, was that your first radio gig?
That was my first radio gig. It was an unexpected radio gig. I didn't even want to be in radio, Gary. Honestly, I was a TV guy. I majored in TV production, local, down in Santa Clara University, so down the ways. And I'm a local guy, born and raised in San Francisco. Kept it local through high school and obviously college at Santa Clara. And I majored in communications and switched from engineering. Oh my gosh, talk about, that's a big 180. But radio crept up, and it was one of those, oh my gosh, I should have done radio. Like, I should have studied radio even more. Not to say I would have changed my trajectory, but I was more of a TV guy. I wanted to produce, be behind the scenes. Yes, believe it or not, I didn't want to be in front of cameras. I just wanted to produce, edit, write, do all that stuff. And then radio became a calling right out of college at Santa Clara, right at 1999, when basically the boy band explosion just came about and took over. Britney Spears, NSYNC, Backstreet, and Radio Disney San Francisco was looking for somebody to help start the station. They were looking for, a few good folks, part of the street team promotions. And then that's how I got into radio. And it was like by accident, because I didn't even think about a career, but I spent 12 years in radio since then. So, radio's great. Radio's awesome, as we know.
We always say, you end up in radio just like adult films. Nobody plans.
Right. It just comes up. All of a sudden, I'm in the business.
All of a sudden, there's cameras everywhere. No, well, because a couple of things. First of all, your first job out of college, you've been in the business long enough to realize now that's a hell of a job to get out of college.
Yeah.
Radio, you're not working for KEDR, Sandskeen, Nebraska, Omaha, right? I mean,
it was AM. This is the thing, Gary. Like, it was a little radio station that could. We were AM 1310, and it was Disney's brainchild to say, let's come up with a radio marketing, a media channel where kids and parents will listen. And they were brilliant. Disney's brilliant, as we all know. And they owned not only, the ABC stations at the time, too, like they had the TV broadcast, but then they owned the ABC radio clusters as well at the time. So Disney was a big marketing machine, and Radio Disney was just a little part of it, but it was all across the country. And we had syndicated national programs within, the time slots. And then I was the local guy, but I worked my way up from promotions, did a little bit of sales, did obviously production, started doing, voiceovers and writing my own stuff. So I did get creative. And then I took the mic at live remotes, which about live remotes, events, being in the radio biz. Radio is the best live, I think, when you're at an event, a concert, a function, because we get outside the box. Radio stations like to be with the people, right? TV's great, but TV doesn't do promotions like radio does. You can do stunts, you can do all sorts of fun things, and that's where the personality, the hype man really came about. But Disney's a big brand, and so I couldn't say no for a first job working for the mouse, and that kind of projected everything. So
it's amazing. It really is. As somebody, who spent my entire career in radio, having your first job be with Disney right out of college is just nothing short of astounding. I mean, and that's a testament to you. You can play it up as luck all you want. I know better. I've been doing this long enough that they looked at you and said, this kid's something, man. This kid is something.
They saw potential in me. And I'll be honest, I did not want to get in front of live crowds. And, some of these promotions, they're not all the most glamorous. I'll go for a gas station opening or some kind of small town, whatever, opening of this and that, where you just send out your strip team and make make some noise and play music and get on the mic. I had to learn the craft, but they did see something in me because they had, I had energy, but a different type of energy. I was just excited to be there. It wasn't really necessarily the energy that's on the mic that you see now, but then they said, hey, you know what? Why don't you do a couple spots for us and say, you'll be the Prince of Prizes. Just give out prizes. They call me the Prince of Prizes, which was so funny. And I'm like, okay, Kids Station, I'll do it. So, hey, it's Franco Finn, Prince of Prizes. We're going to give you some prizes today. Meet me at, Stoneridge Mall in Pleasanton, and we're going to give you, something from 12 to 3. Prince of Prizes here. And that was it. And then it was like, okay, get on the mic. And then we started getting cooler. We were a cooler station. We didn't want to be so kid, pre-teens or whatever. We want to be more teens-like. So I said, all right, Freestyle Franco is my name because we changed our whole thing. And Freestyle Franco was kind of like anything goes. It's the personality. I'm throwing candy at you 1 minute. We're dancing, doing another minute. We're jumping up and down this. So it's anything goes. It was kind of like a wild build guy. And that's where kind of the personality evolved because Freestyle Franco, when he got on the mic, anything could happen. We could be doing some games. We're doing some cool, fun stunts. It was just so spontaneous. And that's kind of what my energy is like. It's just kind of when we need it, boom, let's go. And that's where the hype man kind of evolved.
Well, radio to me has always been the best background. If you look at all the people whose background was radio, the quintessential host of our time, Ryan Seacrest, was a radio guy. You go with David Letterman. You go with Johnny Carson. You go with, that was what they used to do. Wink, all the TV game show hosts, Wink Martindale, all those guys were all just radio guys.
Yes.
And they had to adapt and deal with it. And yes, when you're at a tire store in Pueblo, Colorado, and 70-mile-an-hour winds come and blow over your entire display, you better come up with something.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's the joy of, life has a way of putting you right where you need to be when you need to be there.
I agree, Gary. And I got to tell you, there was a moment, a moment, because I spent 12 years. I didn't want to leave the station. I was like, I could have done this because I just had so much fun doing it. I learned everything from beginning to end. I produced my own spots. I started really coming into my own. And I did dabble into FM. Don't get me wrong. I didn't want to be billed as the kids guy. And I was for a very long time because I was so good at it. And people just wanted, their kids around me because I was such a ball of energy. I'd be at pop concerts and this event and they would start recognizing me. And that's how I actually got my job is because I was emceeing a show for Hilary Duff, who was the it girl at the time. Lizzie McGuire, if you remember the Disney Channel, and this is before the Miley Cyruses, the Selena Gomez's that kind of, they do the crossover. They're actresses, they're singers, they're everything. So Disney was great at putting the it girl, the it guy together. There's always a new generation. And Hilary Duff had no opening act at the arena in Oakland. And so I was the radio station. I interviewed her at my station in the studio, just like what we're doing now. And then she said, hey, I don't have an opening act, but I know you're the energy guy. Can you kick off my concert for me? I said, absolutely. I didn't know it was going to be 20 minutes live in front of 20,000 people, teens and moms, screaming. But that 20-minute audition was just enough for the Warriors that were backstage, their executives and their daughters. They said, you're something else, man. You captured this audience from beginning to end right till Hilary Duff went on. We need a hype guy. We need someone to host basketball games. Like, a host? Who does that? Well, the Warriors were one of the first to host, to have hosts, DJs. It was called Break Timeout Entertainment. It was basically every timeout and break, there was a whole other entertainment segment, which is DJs, hosts, games, activities. So it was more interactive than just watching hoops. And so look now around the league, everyone has one or two hosts, maybe a hype man or in between, or a combo. DJs for sure, and it's now the game within the game. It's an entertainment thing. So it's
I got,
evolved.
I got so many questions.
Yeah.
First of all, just between you and me, you don't have to give me numbers. How was the pay for Disney coming out of the gate?
Oh, yeah, we know that. I think this is when you know you were doing it for love, because back in the day, the salary, I'm not joking, was like $30,000 a year. That's when I started.
In the Bay Area.
In the Bay Area in 1999, okay? Going into 2000. I thought that 30 grand, 35 grand was awesome. I'm getting paid to do this. I'm having fun. I'm going to concerts. For me, as a 21-year-old, I was awesome. I had a great time. And then I got to 50 grand. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a really big raise. That was like my goal, right? At one's 20-something or other. And then, I started getting a little smart about this. I said, okay, radio, so they can probably, they can be cheap if they want to, and they can, they don't have to spend a lot of money on talent fees. But you know what? I was starting to get really a lot of requests. Vendors, companies, advertisers, people that said, well, we love the Disney brand and I'll get the van out there, but we want that guy. Like that freestyle Franco guy, like we need him to host that event. As long as he's there, we'll buy in the program. I'm like, well, hey, I have some leverage here. So that's when I started negotiating. Like, hey, these clients want me, so why can't I go to talent fee like some of these other FM, AM guy, bigger personalities? I don't need much, but I just a little extra because they want me specifically. So I started getting smart about it, and then I started branching and doing my own stuff. Still worked for the radio station, but then I was developing my own brand. And then that's how I got into the auction business too, because I'm already a hype guy, energy guy, a broadcaster, media. I've been in front of cameras and microphones. Couple that with auction skills, I did it for my high school, my alma mater. They said, why are you hiring a guy that doesn't even know the school? You know the school better than anyone, and you're our personality. We know who you are. You do it. It was a Catholic private school, and I would sell a lot more than the professional guy. And they said, okay, we need you to take some auction school lessons. So I actually went to North Carolina to learn from the best Southern auctioneers in the country.
Hold it. You're telling me there's an auctioneer school?
Oh, yes. I went to the Mendenhall School of Auctioneering. I actually have my little gallery and plaque and my diploma right here from almost 20 years ago.
Oh, my gosh. I ended up doing auctions, and not to make the podcast about me, but really, isn't it always? But I used to host these golf tournaments, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they were
cars.
Mm-hmm. And they would have these auctions. And I remember, and I used to hate them because they were always the worst part of the evening. And I remember one that I got up there, and it went for 2.5 hours.
Okay, that's long.
And the guy was going, who'll give me $26? Who'll give me $27? And so I'm like, if I ever do this, I'll do it completely different. And they asked me one time I was hosting it, you do it all for charity. You do it for, it's time I do it for free. And so people would ask me, and when I got up there, I just came up and said, here's what I'm going to do. We're all tired. We've all been playing golf all day. Most likely our wives or girlfriends or husbands or boyfriends or whatever are pissed off at us that we've been gone all day.
Yeah.
So the one thing I will do for you is I want to shut up as much as you want me to shut up. So if you'll give me money, we'll be done with this in 15 minutes. All right? I'm just going to go quick. That's what I'm going to do. And if you're in, and what my attitude is, and I kept doing this, people kept asking me to do it. I kept saying, no. And I met my wife who's in the events industry. And I said, I can't get out of these. And she goes, just say no. And I'm like, I can't be a jerk. She goes, put a price on it. And I'm like, what? She goes, put a price on it. And I said, well, who's going to pay a price? She goes, that's your out. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So we put a price on it thinking nobody would say say yes. And I got booked up to 2 years in advance.
Oh, yeah.
And because my attitude, and I've seen you do it too, my attitude is that 90%, 94% of the people there will never bid. So it's the 6%. And the only way you're going to get money from the 6% is if everybody else is paying attention to them. Yeah. And if you can do that, so I try to do an improv comedy act.
Yeah.
And keep everybody involved in them, and that's going to get me the most money.
Yeah.
And so, but as I always tell everybody, I don't advertise. I don't have a website. I only get asked. And if I get asked, and I only get asked by friends, because I'm like, when a company calls me up, I try to find, if it's an organization, hey, you probably have somebody in your organization that can do this. Because I'm just that lazy.
Yeah. It's work, Gary. We know. I mean, it's at the end of the night, right? Especially in a golf tournament. That's where we met, right? And people are tired. It's a long night, and you got to get in, get out, and they still have that expectation. You got to raise money. So the stakes are high. It's not for everyone, as you and I know. I mean, look, and there's people out there that will drag it on, doing that. I come in fun, fast, furious, a lot of F's. Franco Finn, man. I'm going with expletives here. Let's go. And it's go time. And that's where, as a hype man for me, like it just came natural, being in front of live people first off, and then just getting the most amount of money, short amount of time. I went to auction school just because my alma mater paid for me to go all across the country to learn for 3 months. Literally, I learned more than I should know. I mean, I got contract. I'm like licensed in like 4 states, Gary. Like, what am I going to do with the Commonwealth in Philadelphia or whatever the hell? Like, there's literally laws in states. Like, if it's a Commonwealth state, you have to have a certain, kind of license, if you will. And so I did all that. I mean, I didn't need it, but here I am. I can be versatile. But I really wanted to learn the craft, just like any student of the game. I'm watching radio people. I was in the studios. Talking about radio, I'm in awe. Like, I was with KGO News Talk 810, which was the #1 juggernaut in talk radio in the Bay Area for 30 straight years. Shout out to my old GM, Mickey Lukoff, who's a legend, Hall of Famer. They produced so much talent out of that talk radio in San Francisco. This was the epitome. And they were #1 for like almost 25, 30 years. I would go in the studios, and I'm the AM pop station, the station that's the redheaded stepchild. No offense to any redheaded folks out there, but I love all my redheaded people, by the way. They're my best friends. But the stepchild, let's put it the stepchild that was, you're not the talk format. We inherited you because ABC owns us, and so we have to find a way to make you work and make money out of you guys. And we were just that little, not a thorn, but non-traditional radio. There's a kid's pop thing. We're talk, But I learned from those talk guys, learning from like Ron Owens and some of those other folks that were just so amazing. Ray Taliaferro. There's a whole bunch that just came out of that age, KGO, and even KSFO too. I've been listening to like Michael Savage. Wow, he's nuts, and just the extreme radio personalities, from right to left wing, all that stuff. And then also FM jocks. I would, listen to my, here in the Bay Area, some of the cameos like Brunel or Chewy Gomez was my era. Like those guys just had a delivery and they were just kind of cool and had a swag. There's a lot, right? And then, that kind of helped shape my kind of ideas. Like, I don't have to be like them or this. I'm just going to stay in my lane. But I love how they come in and out of breaks. It's such a smooth transition. And we all know when you're doing the radio bit, you're coming into a song and this. I'm like, God, these guys are smooth. So learning that little handoff, like just smooth transitions, beginning, middle, and end, helps me do my live event. And as a professional, it's helped me wonders. So, yeah, radio is everything. And I got to say, I owe it all to the mouse, too, because Disney's brand standards. You imagine the FCC had strict rules with kids. You couldn't even say, we are the best candy in the world. No, you can't say that because you're brainwashing kids. You say, we may have the best candy that you might have tasted in the entire, there's ways that you have to say it. There's a possible out. It was tough working with those rules, but it challenged you. And the brand, Disney, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, it's a well-beloved worldwide company, and we kept it clean. We were mousy, squeaky clean, and that's hard to do too, right? I mean, so it was good.
It's time to think differently when it comes to your parties, meetings, and groups. The catering from Havana Cuba Restaurant in downtown San Jose. Instead of the same old, how about the most delicious Cuban sandwich you've ever had? You're tired of fries? Plantains, my friends, they'll change your world. And here's something you didn't know. Havana Cuba was voted one of the top 10 tamales in the entire South Bay. They have vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options, and their website is 998cuba.com. They're located at 387 South 1st Street in downtown San Jose. It's Havana Cuba. Let's talk relationships. Scary, huh? My friend Stephanie Flood can help. She's offering a video series that'll help you reconnect. You can do it by yourself or together. Shows a kinder and gentler way of interacting with your partner, and that can lead to them responding the same way. And Steph is offering a 100% money-back guarantee if you follow the steps and it doesn't improve the lines of communication. That's not all. Go to afloodoflove.com today, enter the promo code Gary to get a 20% discount off the video series. It's afloodoflove.com.
If you've worked radio in the Bay Area and you have any kind of success whatsoever, you will end up doing a promotion with Disney.
Yeah.
And I've done many of our broadcasts from Disney, and they are top of the line.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be first class. And they have their rules, and you are going to obey those rules.
Oh, yes.
No matter how silly you think they are, it does not matter. I was there. I took my kids, right? And my sons at the time, I think they were, 6 and 8, something like that. And so my wife came down with the kids, and I'm there, and I'm doing my broadcast. And they have 3 chairs. Or they have 5 chairs. Because, me and my co-host and the guest who comes in and sit down. Well, I'm sitting there. I'm not on the air. My sons come over because they can come in after 8 o'clock. My sons come over and they sit in they sit in my chair. And the lady from Disney comes over and goes, "They can't sit in that chair." What? I said, "Yeah, they can sit in the other chairs, but they can't sit in the host chair." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
You're like,
Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But that was the rule. And I'm like, okay, son, over here. And again, it's not a criticism. I'm just saying they have specific reasons for their rules, whether you know what they are or not, and it works.
right. It's crazy. They did have a lot of rules, but it does work. They are so strict with their brand. And that's where I know working with clients, if you can work with Disney and they have so many rules and red tape within that box, and you cannot go out of that box. They're so strict. That's why they're so good, is because you don't see costume characters without their heads on walking around the park. When you're in the magical park, it's magic from the moment you walk in. I'm talking about the janitors, the sweepers. They're in character. They're looking like the part, cleaning it up. It's immaculate. Like, if you can get with that strict standard, you can work with any client and brand in the world. And so that was my base. And I think that's what sets me apart. And that's what the Warriors liked about me. I had to be family friendly. Okay. I couldn't be too street, couldn't be too edgy, couldn't be too rough, couldn't be too this, too that. It's like Disney's motto, whether you're 2 or 92, you're going to love this Disney magic and brand. And I had to bring magic and energy of Warriors basketball, which I'll tell you was not easy because we sucked. We sucked for 20 years. So the Warriors you're seeing now, like now we're switching gears, it was obviously amazing. Steph Curry, the era, this last 10 years, this decade, 4 NBA championships. I mean, I couldn't even picture this. But you imagine in 2002 when I started, I had to hype up really loyal fans that love the Warriors, but our product was subpar, less than subpar. We were probably the little bottom dwellers with the Clippers and some other ones. We would advertise, come see the Sacramento Kings take on our Warriors. Come see Kobe Bryant and the Lakers and Shaq come into town. Like, we were advertising the other athletes coming to the Bay. And that was crazy. And then there was a shift. We all know, we believe, sparked something like, wait a minute, we got a little bit of something. We went to the playoffs. And then there was a little few years in between. Mark Jackson was coach, got the 2 best shooters in the world here, said, we've got the best. And they were like, you're out of your mind. He left, Kirk came in, 15 and on. We haven't looked back. I mean, it's been competitive every year. So that's another challenge. If you can hype up and get people energized when basically you couldn't win a game, but maybe there was free chalupas if the Warriors scored over 100. Or how many missed free throws from the other team? Guess what? T-shirts are coming from the rafters. Make some noise and make sure that the team bricks at every free throw. Like, you had to go reverse to get the positive. It was wild. But that trained me to get any situation hyped up. 4th quarter, maybe it was close. Maybe we didn't win. But I tell you, the fans were heard, and I was the maestro behind it all. So
And that's why they picked you to host All-Star Weekend. I mean, you're a legend within the industry. It's one thing about saying, okay, everybody, the Warrior fans know you, but you're a legend within the industry of the NBA, which is amazing. And you had this weird thing where you had a championship team, a legendary championship team, lose its best players and go literally from the greatest team to the worst team. Like that. And so, when you're riding the wave, when you've got Kobe and Shaq, when you've got, Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, you're not going to be, you may not win the championship, but you're not going to be the worst team.
Yeah.
And to have that happen where you went from, hey, I wonder if we're going to win the championship this year to, I wonder if we're going to win 20 games.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think we can win 20 games this year?
And then can we just get into a playoff? Like, once in 20 years. Like, I'm talking about 2 decades, Gary, of suck. Like, couldn't even sneak into a playoff. So that 07, 08, we believe year, that flash in the pan, Don Nelson coming back. We had the Renegade team, Steven Jackson, Al Harrington, those guys, Jason Richardson. Like, they were like a band of brothers that, like, we're going to dethrone the number 1 seed, which was Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas
Mavericks.
You go to Oakland Arena, it's still there. Dirk was so pissed because this is the first time in a 7-game series that a number 8 seed, the Warriors, beat a number 1. And that's when you knew there was a splash. I mean, we didn't last that much longer, but I tell you, Dirk Nowitzki, that last game that he lost at Oracle, there's still a big hole at the top of this one wall. And he threw a garbage can, no joke, threw it, hold it up there, and you can't even reach this damn thing. And there's a big hole. And then you know what they did? The Warriors or the Oracle Arena, they put a little plaque, they put a We Believe shirt. And Dirk Nowitzki was really kind. He got on a ladder and he actually signed it. He was pissed.
When they find a way, when like Dirk Nowitzki, and most people, I don't know about you with athletes, but here's my thing. I find the more violent the sport, the nicer they are off the field. Football players are routinely, and hockey players, some of the nicest people you will ever meet, right? But baseball players can be problematic, and basketball players, same thing. So, but the fact that you catch Dirk Nowitzki and he's released that anger and can do that.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. And we've had so many memories at Oracle Arena. I tell you, one of the best places. I spent 17 years there, 17 years. I can't believe it. And then I, spent obviously now 3 going on 4 at Chase, so 21 total combined. So it was amazing. But I got to tell you, man, I could not have made this up. This wild ride of the Warriors has opened up so much, and it's been amazing. And you know what? I get to do it for my family also, and my friends. You're probably going to see my mom roll by here. I think she probably already rolled by here. She's the biggest fan. She's here in a wheelchair rolling around. She immigrated here in the 70s. There she is. There's Mom. Hey, Mom. Mom infiltrates my all my meetings and stuff.
Absolutely good. It's the world that we live in now, so don't even think about it.
But I wouldn't be on this planet without her. But I'll give her a little quick shout out because she did immigrate here in the 70s, from the Philippines. And what was amazing was basketball was her first love. Fell in love with the Rick Barry era of the 70s, right? And she actually witnessed the 74-75 championship when she moved here on TV, and this was right before I was born. And I was born in 77. And you fast forward almost 40 years later, she got to see the first championship here in the Bay with Rick Barry, in 74-75. And then 2015, I got to share that with her. So that ring is not just for me, but it's also for my mother. I'm an only child. And what's even more awesome about it is I am the first and only Filipino Asian American hype man in the NBA. And that's why I, was at an All-Star. I was the first ever at All-Star to be hosting that type of. It took them 20 years to finally pick me, but they said, oh, man, we should bring Franco Finn in. And then I just did the FIBA World Cup basketball.
Yeah, you did.
I just got back and I hosted the world stage. So basketball has been everything, not just for me, my family, but it means a lot to. I know many Filipinos and Asian Americans love this game. It has gone global. So I don't know, Gary. Maybe I have another 20 more to go. Maybe I'll be an ambassador globally. So NBA China or NBA Asia, if you're listening, you got to hire me. We got to go global now with this sport. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Well, and you are the best. And I was watching some of the coverage on you, and I was so thrilled for you about how proud the Filipino people and the country, the Philippines, they were so thrilled to have you in studio. They were so thrilled to have you there.
It was, Gary, I have never had a press conference dedicated to me. Let's just put it that way. When they said, we have some reporters that wanted to talk to you here in Manila while you're here. I'm used to reporters talking about it, this and that. What's your experience like? What's the Warriors like? We have Filipino Heritage Nights, twice a year. So I had really like one or two people in mind. No, they said, get on the podium, bright lights, with a speaker microphone, with a backdrop. This is where the players and coaches do their press conferences pre and post. You mean right there on the stage there? He goes, oh, yeah, they'll be coming in. I said, I thought it was one or two. I had 12 to 15 media with, recorders and everything saying, over here. Franco, I got a question. I'm like, they're quoting me? Holy moly, I better say something right here. Okay, you're putting me on the spot. But I think I did okay. The Warriors PR folks said, good job at your little press conference there. That was awesome. I definitely a bucket list in my lifetime.
Well, it's funny because, if you do anything long enough in this area for broadcasting, you will meet some people. And I know I've got a couple of Warrior stories as far as like Rick Barry.
Yeah.
I hope he's been nice to you. He's not, and I will say this, and you can't, not the nicest man you'll ever meet. Not the nicest. I was at a one golf tournament, and he was out there, and this guy came up, and he's like, "Hi, Rick. I've been a big fan. I was there at the '76 game." And Rick Barry looks at him and goes, "I don't care." He says it straight up, "I don't care." Second thing, we're playing another golf tournament, Pas Tiempo. We're in the group in front of Rick Barry. He hits into us. And so when they came up, we go like, guys, we're at a scramble. We can't go anywhere. And he goes, not my problem. And one of the guys was about ready to fight him. And I'm like, I can't believe I've met tons of athletes. I've never met anyone as rude as Rick Barry.
You know what, Rick? He does go to he beats to his own drum. That is for sure. He was on the radio, as you know, for many years. And I heard a lot of stories. And it's funny because there's certain things. He's one of those. I mean, you just think about the NBA player at that time, 70s, right? Al Adels, these guys. I mean, they would battle. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that the NBA is like, soft or anything, but like the athletes in the 70s and 80s, you get an elbow, you're not going to get called for it. They were physical. They talk crap. They were like that. So Rick came from that. I'm pretty sure that world where basketball, they don't tolerate crap, right? These are athletes. They're good at what they do. They're actually natural talent. But it's a different game than that, right?
Listen, everybody, I've heard the stories about how jerky Larry Bird could be.
That's another one. And I love Larry Bird. Like, I mean, who doesn't? One of the best shooters. I love him. I love the Celtics more than the Lakers, obviously. Here at the Lakers, only one California team. That's the Warriors. But Larry Bird, I heard the same thing. But you know what? With Rick Barry, I got to say, though, like, I got to know him because, he's been on the court with me. He's done that. But, he's brash, okay? He'll say what he feels. But, I know some of his really good, like, weak spots. And that's fishing outdoors. So, I told him I'm at Alaska Airlines. He goes, I love Alaska. His mind starts, I go fishing. Because he lives in Steamboat Springs or whatever, Colorado. So he's an outdoorsman. He's into pickleball, by the way. He's a national champion in this pickleball.
Of course he is.
Senior league or whatever. There's this category, but they took home the championship. He's passionate about that, so he can still play. So, he's just one of those kind of guys. But
you're smart because you find that intro. Like I was at a tournament one time, and Jim Plunkett, the old Stanford quarterback and Raider quarterback, and he was just he didn't seem to be in a happy mood. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, Jim," I said, "How's Randy Vataha?" Now, Randy Vataha was his favorite receiver when he played for the New England Patriots, at the time called the Boston Patriots.
Right.
And he completely changed. He looked at me and he goes, "He's my agent." I'm like, really? And we started talking, and I became his. And every time we would see each other, he would be like, "Hey, Gary, how are you?" And we'd sit back and talk. And so when you find that one intro, and find out what it is that makes things work, that makes them that it's not the same things. Because even when Rick Barry said, "I don't care," I get it. I get it. I understand. You've heard this story 19,000 times. There's some things you don't say out loud.
Oh yeah, and then that's the art of anything that you do. If you're a public speaker, comedian, auctioneer, host, you talk to all those people. Sometimes those buttons are pushed the wrong way, and then they can go off kilter. We've got probably the best bits on media and TV and radio from the ones that go south. But then if you want a nice, decent conversation, you just find that little nugget, that string that connects you and opens up, oh, okay, yeah, I'll talk about that. The mood changes. People are people, right? And this is what I love. I tell people, like, man, Franco, you do a little bit of everything. You're an auctioneer, you're a hype man for this, you're working, by day, you look for Western, you travel, you do this. Well, what do you not do? I said, well, I'm in the business of people. If there's people involved, we're going to connect. We're going to find something together. We're going to hang. I'll be your new best friend. You're going to be my new best friend. And I'm just more of that positive guy. Like, I don't like to ruffle feathers. I like to just be amongst the flock, if you will, and just be one of the guys, or one of the gals, or whatever it may be. I just try to find that way. And I think that for me, at least the success that I've received is that I am kind of like a non-threatening kind of guy that I can come in. I can carry your baby, and I can hang out with grandma too. Like, I'm that guy in between, and you can trust me. That I love the work that I do. I love my warriors, so it's genuine. When I need Dub Nation to get up on your feet, if I can do it, you can do it. Everybody, up on your feet. It's the fourth quarter, mate. Song. People are like, "Oh, miss you, Piper. Let's go." And I lead with my heart, with my sleeve ready to go. And who would have thought in high school emceeing the rallies that would literally be, I thought that was the biggest arena and gym in my lifetime. Now I got one of the biggest gyms in the world, with Chase Center, especially with that jewel. It's just amazing that sometimes do you ever think, like, you got to pinch yourself sometimes? Like, there's times when the lights are out and I'm about to walk out and I'm like center court. I just want to sit, just look, there's nobody in the stands. And then you just reflect and say, dang it, did I just, man, it's a dream. It's a dream. You know what I mean? And to do what you love, right? It is a dream, and it doesn't seem like work. You know it. You've been in the biz a long time. You're like, I get to do this for a living. I get to do that. It's fun. And I hope to really, this is one of my things. I want to inspire kids in the end that maybe, might think of a career in this type of field or this and that, especially for me. I know there's a lot of Filipinos out there in the Philippines that are like, oh man, I don't have to be like the Steph Curry shooter and be in the NBA. You could be hype guy, hype woman. There's game experiences for every major sports teams around nowadays. You could have a really nice career working in game experience, or behind the booth or something like that. You don't have to be that, star athlete that's going to get you, to the NBA, because some of us, you can't make it. There's a small percentile, but there are jobs in, non-traditional jobs that you should start thinking about. And so hopefully you can inspire more people.
Well, what you do, and you showed it in high school doing that stuff. They picked you because you were the best at it. And here's the term. You are fearless, but not in the way that people think. When people hear fearless, it's like, oh, I'm ready to jump into any situation. No. Fearless to me is you're not afraid of yourself.
That, you hit it on the nail. Gary, that's that. I was quoted in something like, you got to embrace your uniqueness, because you know what, like, you could be like this and that. And believe me, every day, I think about imposter syndrome. We all have imposter syndrome in some, but you know what's great about the world and life in general? There's always going to be someone better and someone worse. So you know what? Instead of trying to be this or that, why don't you just stay in your lane? You can get inspired and then say, oh, I would love, you say Ryan Seacrest. I'll be honest with you, like, he is a guy that I look up to and I say, man, that guy did it all. He's got they call me, the funny thing is, they call me the Filipino or the Asian Ryan Seacrest of the Bay Area because I got my hands in so many different things. But it's okay to admire folks like that. But Ryan is Ryan, right? I'm me, you're you, but you embrace your uniqueness. I'm not afraid of being myself. And so, like, look at Howard Stern, for crying out loud. How many times he got his door shut? He was too much, too this. Look at this guy now, right? We watched the movies and all the documentaries. Like, he was unique and he did his thing and he stayed in his own lane. And that's really all you got to do. You can only do what you can do because that's what you can control, right? And just be the best at it. Now, why not?
Well, your comparison to Ryan Seacrest, you know what Ryan Seacrest does that makes him amazing? And I'm sure when I tell you this, you'll go, yeah, because you do the same thing. One take.
One take. That is,
I mean,
yes.
And you do the same thing. Every time I've seen you up there, I don't see you searching for words. I don't hear, well, you know, no. You are,
right.
Here's what I'm going to say, and this is how it's going to happen.
And you commit to it. That's the thing. Like a golf shot. Hey, I'm telling you, golf is the thing. You know, you like golf. I love golf. People, I tell you, golf is the ultimate lesson. Like, you know, when you're doing that little chipper and you're like, oh, I didn't give it enough. Or that putt that you just, it was a little, like, you just got to commit. Like, do that swing that you were supposed to do. That's what messes me up, at least. You just got to do it. And that's where, you know, the pros, I watch them. You know, I'm still a student. I don't care if I have 20 years, 30, 40 years. I can still learn from others that I can apply to myself. And that's where I think if you're able to absorb like a sponge, take it in your own way, and then you do it the way you need to do it. But you can always learn from others. But I love the one takers. It's funny. Like my production teams, they love it when I just say, okay, Franco, you're going to be live. You're going to do this. I mean, 30 seconds. I mean, that training has helped me because I got to get in and got to get out because the game's about to go. So I can't flub or do anything. I got to go one take, deliver what the client needs, do the contest, in and out, 3, 2, 1, back to the game. Like that. You know, that routine is great. Like I can do a 30-second spot, probably you can too, or a 16 or a 15, and you already know what that internal clock is. So you better get to it at the end, get the beginning, the middle, and wrap it up, and let's go. It's smooth, right? Seamless.
me and golf aren't talking right now.
We're talking.
Yeah, we're not talking. Maybe one day we'll find a love for each other, but right now the passion's gone.
You love it 1 minute, you get 1 or 2 good ones, and you're like, man, this sport, damn it. I don't like it. He doesn't like me at all.
I always tell everybody that golf is when you know your life is going so well that you pay to add frustration to it. Can I ask you one thing before, because I've got to wrap this up because you've got things to do. Yeah. Have you ever hurt yourself doing this?
Doing this hype man stuff?
Yeah.
Not hurt myself, but I have had, instances where, I've probably, I almost had an F-bomb or two here and there, like, not meaning, it was more of the contestant that I didn't have control over. So it was more of like those flubs. I had some,
But you ever blow your throat out or anything?
No, nothing like that. But I have one funny story where I was pretending to be a game show host for Family Feud, okay? And I had Big David West. He was our big man at the time, if you recall. He was with us in the 17-18 championship. Anyways, David West, big guy, did this whole game show thing bit with him on the court in front of all the folks. And I was pretending to be Steve Harvey with the hat, the mustache. I dressed up like him. Man, this is one of the big flubs, but it ended up being so genius. I'm live, right? I'm live. I've got Bob Fitzgerald over there. I got David West. I'm trying to do this Family Feud hosting, just having some fun. My mustache flies in the middle of the thing, and I catch it, and I'm laughing hysterically. Bob Fitzgerald's laughing. David West, the guy who's big and stoic, he just could not stop laughing. And I put it back, and you just got to keep going with it. And I'm like, oh, well, that was a fun one. And I put it back on. It was upside down. And they're still laughing. And I'm just going with the whole bit. And then I'm trying to continue this freaking game. And then I tell you, it comes off again and I catch it. And at that point, the whole place is laughing hysterically. But it was one of the most amazing. I hope Steve Harvey one day can actually see this because it is hilarious seeing a big guy laugh his butt off because a mustache starts flying off, man. So like moments like that, you just got to roll with it. It makes good TV, but the biggest flubs end up becoming the most memorable moments in your career. So
before you go, because we got to do this again, because I haven't even got around to the Harlem Globetrotters. So he's the busiest man I know. And so, but I have to tell you before you go, I have to tell you my one Steph Curry story.
Yeah.
So they were doing the Fry's golf tournament in Napa. And Bob Fitzgerald, who's a friend of mine, said, "Hey, come on and walk with us." And he goes, "Hey, I'm going to go and grab some lunch." He goes, "Why don't you walk in here, take my pass and walk with Steph?" And I'm like, okay, Steph and Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas, they look over at me and they said, "Hey," and so I walked up. Steph goes, "I'm starving. Can you go get me a hamburger?" And Justin Thomas said, "Yeah, can you get me one too?" Steph pulls his billfold out. I looked at him and I said, "Stop." He goes, "Why?" I said, "I'm going to tell them who I'm getting lunch for. They'll pay me." Franco Finn, you're the best, my friend. I know you have to go. Thank you so much for your time.
You know what? We got more stories. Let's make this part 1, and then let's get a part 2 going. Because Gary, I mean, I respect anybody that's been in this business, and you've been doing it a long time. I know it, and I love that. I learned also from you, like I mentioned before. I think we've got a lot of stories and a lot of stuff to share because. With radio, there is an endless amount of stories that people don't even know and see because you're hearing things, but in the studio, you're trying to make it all happen. It's coming on the air live one way or another, but there's some stories to be told.
I've got a bunch, and you are on. You let me know when you have time.
Chronicles confessions, session of like some of the craziest, silliest.
I'll line up my 5 best stories, and I'll go with your 5 best stories.
Let's go. We can do some fun stuff. I've seen some crazy fun things in that radio station.
Oh, I'll tell you my favorite story, and yeah, I told my son it the other day, and both of them just died laughing. They said that could not have happened. I said, yeah, it did.
Oh yeah, it'll happen. To be continued, my friend. Well, thank you so much. Let's end with this. Make some noise, Nation! Are you ready? It's go time.